But you got it too. That's what I should have done. Got one of your. It is cute. I'm wearing red tonight, but it won't be this way. It'll be more fancy. It'll. The 9,815th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in Libya. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of Libya to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting. Ms. Stephanie Koury, Deputy Special Representative for Political Affairs for Libya in the United Nations Support Mission in Libya, and Mr. Ali Omar, Director of Libya Crimes Watch. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I wish to draw the attention of council members to document S/2024/895, the report of the Secretary General on the United Nations support mission in Libya. At this meeting, the council will hear briefings by Ms. Stephanie Koury and Ambassador Kazuyuki Yamazaki, permanent representative of Japan, in his capacity as representative of the chair of the Security Council Committee established pursuant to Resolution 1970-2011 concerning Libya. I now give the floor to Ms. Stephanie Koury.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the Council. At the outset, let me first congratulate the Libyan people on the successful holding of local elections held on 16th November in the first group of 58 municipalities across the country. This was a technically sound process organized by the High National Electoral Commission with the support of the police and security forces, which helped ensure a peaceful voting day. The holding of these elections is a reminder that the Libyan people yearn to exercise their right to select those who govern them. Municipal elections for the second group of 60 municipalities is set to start next month, and I urge all authorities to support this. Madam President, in a little over a week, Libya will mark 3 years since the indefinite postponement of national elections in 2021. As unresolved issues continue to stall political progress, Libya's national unity and territorial integrity are under threat. Over the past 8 months, I have met Libyans from all walks of life, and they have repeatedly conveyed to me a sense of urgency and to hold national elections. Libyans are anxious about their country's future. The status quo is unsustainable and has persisted for too long. Unilateral actions pursued by political elites have deeply eroded Libya's institutions into parallel and competing structures. The recent crisis over the leadership of the Central Bank of Libya exposed the fragility of the veneer of stability of Libya's prolonged political stalemate. It also served as a stark reminder that it is high time for Libya to build strong institutions to address issues of uncontrolled spending and a fiscal deficit, establish a stable economy against the backdrop of the possible decrease of global oil prices. Further, the continuing divisions over the leadership of the High Council of State compromise its ability to exercise its functions. This is another sign that Libya's transitional architecture is crumbling under the weight of political polarization and the lack of a clear project for a permanent system of governance. National reconciliation efforts are also increasingly hindered by the political divisions and the vicious cycle of institutional competition. Competition between various armed factors for territorial control and access to resources continue to threaten Libya's stability. 2 days ago, fighting erupted in Zawiya between two armed groups. Minor clashes flared up again in the oil-rich desert of Hamada on 24th October, 6th and 9th November. Although the situation has de-escalated for now, these incidents underscore the risks associated with uncoordinated unilateral troop movements and divided security institutions. Madam President, last night I have presented to the Libyan people UNSMIL's plan for an inclusive intra-Libyan political initiative to overcome the current political deadlock and move beyond the status quo towards national elections and the renewal of the legitimacy of Libya's expired institutions. I intend to facilitate this process on the basis of the following objectives and principles. 1, first and foremost, preserving stability on the ground. Secondly, pursuing Libyan ownership by building on existing Libyan framework. Thirdly, help unify and strengthen institutions and their legitimacy. Fourthly, inclusivity of Libyan political forces and cultural components. I also intend to facilitate this process through an incrementable, flexible approach to enable progressive building up. This increment is also designed in such a way as to not predetermine any decision made by the next special representative and can be adjusted as appropriate. In line with paragraph 2 and 5 of Resolution 2755 of 2024, UNSMIL intends to establish an advisory committee to develop options for resolving outstanding issues in the electoral framework and to pave the way for the holding of general elections and one government for all Libyans. It is my priority, based on my consultations with Libyans across the country, to address contentious issues in the legal framework for the elections. While the existing framework is the positive outcome of Libyan efforts and a good basis, it remains highly contentious among Libyans and is unlikely to produce a viable and peaceful electoral event without some tweaks. We must be mindful of past experiences, in particular of the failed 2021 election. This is why I intend to establish a time-bound advisory committee tasked to review outstanding issues in the electoral framework and make viable proposals and options for an overall roadmap for the holding of elections. This committee will be composed of Libyan experts and respected personalities who are reflective of the spectrum of Libya's political forces, social, cultural, and geographic components. Madam President, as the controversy of the executive authority ensues, we must be mindful of the successive transitional governments in Libya's decade-long and open-ended interim arrangements. This is why I believe that any unified government that might emerge from Libyan negotiations should be strictly bound by principles, safeguards, milestones, and timelines to take the country to elections as a condition for its international recognition and legitimacy. Madam President, building on ongoing efforts by Libyans, UNSMIL also intends to convene with Libyan partners a structured dialogue to consolidate consensus around a unified national vision for the future of the country. Long-term conflict drivers have remained unaddressed and have prevented Libya to move towards a permanent system of governance, which is centered on a shared collective vision of fundamental issues and relationships between the individuals and the state. Ensuring full, equal, and meaningful participation of all segments of society, particularly youth and women, remain UNSMIL's priority to fostering inclusivity, building national unity, and enhancing the legitimacy of the political process. It is my hope that this process can build an important legacy and support the conclusion of the constitution-making process down the road. UNSMIL is continuing to support Libyan efforts to move forward its economic reforms for the benefit of the Libyan people. UNSMIL will also continue to work to help advance unification of military and security institutions and with the African Union and Libyan partners to advancing national reconciliation. Over the past weeks, I've shared broad parameters of our initiative with Libyan actors, as well as with regional and international partners. I am grateful for the constructive engagement and feedback. That feedback compels me to clarify what this first phase of this initiative is not. The advisory committee is not a dialogue group to take decisions, but rather it is to generate options for use in a follow-on phase by Libyan decision makers. Madam President, I am mindful of mounting challenges that must be overcome. 2.5 months after the resolution of the leadership crisis at the Central Bank of Libya, I am encouraged by steps taken to improve governance. The reinstatement of the Central Bank's Board of Directors on 21st October is an important milestone following its suspension for over a decade. To effectively implement monetary policy and contribute to economic stabilization, the CBL leadership, the Central Bank leadership, and the board must be free to act independently, transparently, integrity, without conflicts of interest, in concert with other oversight institutions. Immediate priority to support the central bank's stabilization efforts. I urge Libyan decision makers to urgently agree on a framework for spending in 2025 with agreed limits and oversights. I would also like to reinforce the critical importance of safeguarding the independence of Libya's oversight institutions and for authorities to adhere to governance principles of transparency and anti-corruption as outlined in the Libya political agreement and successive resolutions by this council. Madam President, arbitrary arrests and detentions persist across the country. Despite progress in the areas of capacity building and partial access to detention facilities, I call on Libyan authorities to grant UNSMIL unimpeded access to all detention centers. I am very concerned about deaths in custody. Since I last briefed the Council, 4 Libyans, including 2 women, have died in custody. Transparent investigations into these deaths are needed, and those responsible must be held accountable. Regional instability also has a grave impact on Libya. Since the start of the Sudanese conflict in 2023, an exponentially growing number of Sudanese refugees have crossed into Libya, with 500 on average arriving daily. The human rights and protection conditions faced by migrants and refugees remains a UN top priority. I urge all stakeholders to ensure that migration management comports with international human rights law, and the UN remains committed to assisting us. Madam President, closing. Largely remains the backdrop of participation to support the statement, as well as regional to help resolve unify institutions.
Ms. Koury, we are unable to hear
Yes.
you, starting from in closing. Nope, not yet. Let's try again.
Okay.
Better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. President. Closing is going to remain large. It is neither stable against the back regional changes and growing economic. We must collectively seize the opportunity to achieve a lasting political settlement. Members of this council, as well as regional.
Ms. Koury, we still can't hear you. So we're going to disconnect and come back to you, and I will move to the civil society briefer, to Ambassador Kazuyuki Yamazaki, and we will come back to you for your closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I now give the floor to Ambassador Kazuyuki Yamazaki.
Thank you, Madam President. In accordance with paragraph 24E of Resolution 1970 of the 26th February 2011, I have the honor to report to the Security Council on the work of the committee established pursuant to the same resolution. The report covers the period from 10th October to 16th December 2024. During this time, the committee met twice in informal consultations and conducted additional work using the silence procedure with the aim of facilitating the implementation of the sanctions measures. Madam President, most recently, in informal consultation on 12th December, the committee met with a delegation of the Libyan Investment Authority, a listed entity at its request, on issues pertaining to the implementation of the assets freeze. Remarks were also made by the representative of Libya. An interactive discussion followed. Earlier, in informal consultation on 5th December, the committee heard a presentation by the panel of experts on its final report submitted in accordance with the Resolution 2701. The panel also submitted separately to the committee information on individuals who in the panel's assessment meet the sanctions designation criteria. The final report was submitted to the Council on 13th December, hence I will not summarize its findings. In the interactive discussion that ensued, committee members expressed their support for the work of the panel. The committee members are currently considering the recommendations addressed to the committee by the panel for possible follow-up action. During the informal consultations, a committee member raised a question to me regarding the possibility of organizing a committee visit, to which I expressed my openness as a chair to discussing the matter with the committee members during the remainder of my tenure as a chair and to convey the message to the incoming chair. With respect to the arms embargo, the committee received a report on a vessel inspection conducted by EU NAVFOR Med Operation Irini, submitted pursuant to Resolutions 2292 and 2733. One committee member expressed varying views on the matter. The committee also received a report on an attempted vessel inspection by Operation EU NAVFOR Med Operation Irini. Concerning the assets freeze, no negative decision was taken by the committee in relation to 6 notifications invoking paragraph 19A of Resolution 1970, submitted by Bahrain. Following the receipt of technical inputs, as requested by the committee, from the panel of experts on 3 additional exemption notifications invoking paragraph 90A received by the committee, 2 from Bahrain and 1 as previously submitted by Luxembourg. The committee is currently considering responses to those notifications. The committee is further considering additional information provided by Bahrain on 2 previously submitted notifications invoking paragraph 21 of Resolution 1970, as well as a request to transfer certain frozen assets from one jurisdiction to another. The committee responded to Belgium on a previously submitted notification invoking paragraph 21. The committee acknowledged updates to the Libyan Investment Authority's short-term investment plan conveyed by Libya. Finally, the committee is considering a letter from the Libyan Investment Authority through Libya on the status of specific assets freeze exemption notifications, as well as a letter from Libya on committee correspondence. Madam President, the committee continues its consideration of the delisting request received through the focal point for delisting established pursuant to Resolution 1730. In connection with the informal consultations held in early June by the committee to consider the interim report of the panel of experts, 2 matters continue to be under consideration by the committee. In conclusion, Madam Chair, I would like to reiterate the committee's commitment to contributing to the promotion of peace and stability in Libya. As this is my last periodic report to the Council, I would also like to thank the members of the committee, the Secretariat, and the staff of my own mission for their cooperation during my chairpersonship. Thank you.
Yamazaki for his briefing. I now give the floor back to Ms. Stephanie Koury for her closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam President. In closing, Libya's guns largely remain silent, but it is neither stable nor at peace. Against the backdrop of persistent foreign involvement, regional changes, and growing economic headwinds, we must collectively seize the opportunity to achieve a lasting political settlement. Members of this Council, as well as regional and international actors, have a concrete opportunity and obligation to help Libyans resolve their differences, reunify institutions, and move toward a democratic, rule-based system of governance. Libya has the potential to become a beacon of stability and prosperity for the Mediterranean region and beyond, and one that serves its people. The success of the UN-facilitated political process, first and foremost, requires political will and Libyan actors to refrain from unilateral actions that continue to entrench institutional divisions and polarization. Unity of purpose and coordinated support from Libya's regional and international partners is equally critical. The Libyan people have shown that not only do they desire change, but they have the capacity to reach agreements, to compromise, and make lasting progress and hold elections. And they need your unified support. Thank you, Madam President and members of the council.
I thank Ms. Koury for her statement, and I now give the floor to Mr. Ali Omar. Mr. Omar, you have the floor.
السيدة الرئيسة سيدتي والسادة
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Security Council, thank you for granting me this opportunity to address you today. My name is Ali. I'm a Libyan activist and a human rights defender and a former prisoner of conscience. I speak to you from exile as the director of Libya Crimes Watch, an organization dedicated for over 5 years to monitoring and documenting human rights violations in Libya and advocating for accountability. I speak to you today to convey the voices of victims and survivors who endure in silence under the weight of daily violations and crimes in Libya. Since the beginning of this year, LCW, our organization, has documented 281 grave human rights violations perpetrated by both Eastern and Western authorities in Libya. These figures are not mere statistics, but reflect harrowing stories and real tragedies of victims, including the most vulnerable groups, such as women and migrants, as well as activists, journalists, lawyers, and others. These violations include torture in prisons, arbitrary arrests, enforced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings. Such practices not only destroy the lives of individuals and their families, but also sow fear throughout society and undermine any hope for peace. These heinous crimes are not isolated acts, but systematic and recurrent, carried out and overseen by security agencies and military groups affiliated with all parties to the conflict in Libya, including the Libyan Armed Arab Forces, the Government of National Unity, the government endorsed by the Libyan House of Representatives in the East, and the Libyan Presidential Council. Madam President, prisons and unofficial detention centers represent a dangerous and ongoing phenomenon. In these places, human dignity is stripped away, and individuals are treated as mere numbers without value. For instance, in November last year, LCW documented the death under torture of 3 detainees in an unofficial detention center in Benghazi, including a woman and 2 followers of Sufi orders. Sufi orders are one of the minorities subjected to violations for years. Madam President, distinguished members, civil society in Libya continues to face systematic repression and ongoing intimidation. This year alone, LCW documented the arrest of over 50 female and male activists by security and military agencies in eastern and western Libya on vague charges justified by repressive laws such as the anti-cybercrime law and the anti-terrorism law. Numerous decisions and regulations have further restricted the work of local and international organizations, making civil work from inside Libya nearly impossible, forcing many activists to flee and operate from exile. In October 2023, LCW documented the arbitrary detention of 5 political activists in Benghazi by the Internal Security Agency for 10 months without trial. In April of this year, one of these detainees died under mysterious circumstances in the prison with no investigation conducted. To this day, freedom of expression in Libya remains a crime.
في سبتمبر
In
الماضي
September,
اعتقلت الأجهزة
security
الأمنية في
forces
شرق
in
البلاد
the east
16
arrested
شخصا
16 individuals,
بينهم 4
including
أطفال
4 children,
بسبب
for
مشاركتهم
participating in
في
a
مسيرة
demonstration
مؤيدة للنظام السابق.
supporting the former regime.
وفي أعقاب كارثة انهيار سد
Following the
الدرنا في
catastrophic
سبتمبر
collapse of the Derna
2023
dams in September
اعتقل
2023,
المتظاهرون بسبب
demonstrators
تعبيرهم
were
عن
arrested
رأيهم
for expressing
ومطالبتهم
their opinions
بمحاسبة
and
المسؤولين
demanding
عن الفساد
accountability
والإهمال
for corruption and
الذي أدى
negligence,
لمقتل الآلاف من
which
الأبرياء في
have
المدينة.
led to deaths of thousands of innocent people
ومع
in Derna.
تفويض هذا المجلس لبعثة الأمم
As this
المتحدة للدعم
council
في ليبيا
mandates the United
بمهمة
Nations
تنظيم
Support Mission in
الانتخابات،
Libya to
فإن
oversee
ضمان
elections,
بيئة
ensuring
آمنة
a
ومواتية
safe and
لإجراء
conducive
انتخابات
environment for
حرة
free elections
بات أمرا
has
ملحا
become an
يشمل
urgent
ذلك
priority.
حماية الحق
This includes
الأساسي في حرية
protecting the
التعبير
fundamental right to
وإشراك
freedom of
الجميع
expression and
من
involving
بينهم
all
الفئات
groups,
الهشة
including vulnerable
والأقليات
communities,
والمجتمع
minorities,
المدني
and civil
وهو شرط
society.
لا غنى
This is
عنه
a
لضمان نزاهة
prerequisite for
الانتخابات في
guaranteeing the
ليبيا.
integrity of elections in Libya.
السيدة الرئيسة،
Madam
إن
President,
استمرار هذه الانتهاكات
the
يشكل
persistence of
تهديدا
these
خطيرا
violations
للسلم
poses a
المجتمعي
serious threat
والاستقرار
to
في
social
ليبيا.
peace and stability in
إن
Libya.
الانقسام السياسي
The political division
واستمرار
and
الأجسام
continuation
فاقدة
of
الشرعية
illegitimate bodies
يعمقان الأزمة
deepen the
ويعطلان
crisis and
عملية
hinder
المساءلة.
accountability.
إن فشل العمليات
The
السياسية
failure of past
المتعاقبة
political
التي شاهدناها
processes
حتى
has
الآن
not only
أطال أمد
prolonged the
الصراع
conflict,
وخلق
but
بيئة
also
خصبة
created a
لرحلة
breeding
العقاب.
ground for impunity.
لهذا حان
Therefore,
الوقت لكي
the
يجرب
Security
مجلس
Council
الأمن
must
طريقا
act
آخر
now by
وهو
shifting
طريق
its
المحاسبة.
focus to one
السيدة
where
الرئيسة،
accountability is
كيف
prioritized.
يمكن لبلد
Madam
يقبع
President,
فيه
how can a
متهمون
country where
بارتكاب جرائم
individuals
حرب
accused
وجرائم
of
ضد
war crimes
الإنسانية
and crimes
على
against
سدة المناصب
humanity
العليا في
hold the
السلطة،
senior positions of
كيف له أن
power?
ينظم انتخابات نزيهة
How can such a
وشفافة؟
country organize fair
إن
and
المجتمع
transparent
المدني
elections?
في ليبيا
Libyan civil
والحركة
society
الحقوقية بالشتات
and human
يطالب بأن
rights
تكون
movement in
المحاسبة
exile
هي
demand
الأولوية
that
قبل أي عملية
accountability takes
انتخابية.
precedence
لا
over any
يمكن
electoral
نجاح
process.
أي عملية
No
سياسية
political
في
process
ظل
can
تغييب
succeed
العدالة
when
وتفشي
justice is
الإفلات من
obstructed
العقاب.
and impunity reigns.
السيدة الرئيسة،
Madam
السيدات والسادة
President,
الأعضاء،
ladies and
ندعو
gentlemen,
مجلس الأمن
we
والدول
urge the
الأعضاء
Security
إلى
Council and
اتخاذ
member states
خطوات
to take
حازمة
decisive
لوضع حد
action
لحالة
to
الصراع
end the
والانقسام
prolonged
السياسي
conflict
المطول
and
في
political
ليبيا.
division in Libya.
يجب أن تكون المساءلة
Accountability
أولوية
must be a
قصوى
top
قبل
priority
أي
before
عملية
any
سياسية أو
political or
انتخابية.
electoral process.
من هذا المنطلق
Therefore,
نطالب
we
بدعم
call
إنشاء
for the
آلية دولية
establishment of an
مستقلة
independent
للتحقيق في
international
الانتهاكات
mechanism to
وضمان
investigate
محاسبة
violations
المسؤولين
and
عنها.
hold perpetrators accountable.
هذه الآلية ستكون ضرورية
Such a
لتحديد الأفراد
mechanism
الذين
is
يستغلون
essential for
حالة الإفلات
identifying
من العقاب
individuals who exploit
ويعملون على تعطيل
impunity
العملية
to obstruct the
السياسية
political and
ومسار
transitional
العدالة
justice
الانتقالية
processes.
والمصالحة، ولضمان توفير بيئة
It will also
مناسبة
ensure an environment
تمكن الأمة
conducive to
الليبية
enabling the
من
Libyan
اختيار
nation to
مستقبلها
determine its
عبر
future through
انتخابات
fair
حرة
and free
ونزيهة
elections
تمثل
that reflect
تطلعات
the
الجميع.
aspirations of all.
كما ندعو مجلس
We
الأمن إلى
further
تعزيز
call on the
تفويض
Security
بعثة الأمم
Council to
المتحدة
enhance
للدعم في
UNSCO's
ليبيا
mandate
بحيث
with a
تركز
greater
بشكل
focus
أكبر
on
على حماية
protecting
حقوق
human rights
الإنسان
and monitoring
ومراقبة الانتهاكات
violations.
والعمل بشكل
UNSCO
مباشر
should work
مع
directly
السلطات
with
الليبية
Libyan
في الشرق
authorities in
والغرب
both the east
بوقف
and west
الاعتقالات
to end
التعسفية
arbitrary detentions,
والتعذيب في السجون ومراكز
halt
الاحتجاز غير
torture in
الرسمية
prisons and unofficial
وإخلاء
detention
سبيل
centers,
جميع المعتقلين
release all
التعسفيين
arbitrarily detained
والكشف عن
individuals
مصير
and
المختفين
reveal the
قسريا.
fate of those forcibly disappeared.
ونشدد على ضرورة أن يعمل مجلس الأمن والدول
We also
الأعضاء
stress the need for the
بشكل
Security
مشترك
Council and member states
لحث
to
السلطات
collectively press
الليبية في
Libyan
الشرق والغرب
authorities
وجميع أطراف
and
النزاع
all parties
على
to
وقف
the conflict
الانتهاكات
to
والجرائم
cease
الدولية
ongoing
المستمرة
violations and
وضمان حماية
international
المجتمع
crimes,
المدني
protect civil
وإنهاء
society and
حملات
end the
القمع ضد
campaigns of
المدافعين
repression
والنشطاء.
against human
لا
rights
يمكن
defenders and
بناء
activists.
مستقبل مستقر
A
وآمن
stable and
لليبيا
secure
دون
future for
احترام
Libya
الحريات
cannot be
الأساسية
built without
بما في
respecting
ذلك
fundamental
حرية
freedoms,
التعبير والتجمع
including
السلمي.
freedom of expression and peaceful assembly.
ختاما،
In
السيدة
conclusion,
الرئيسة،
Madam
السيدات
President,
والسادة
ladies
أعضاء
and
مجلس الأمن،
gentlemen,
أطلب
I
منكم
urge
أن
you
تنظروا
to
في
look
أعين
into
الضحايا في
the
كل
eyes
مكان،
of the
أن
victims
تسمعوا
everywhere
أصواتهم،
and listen to their
فقراراتكم
voices.
اليوم
Your
قد
decisions
تحدث
today
فرقا
hold the
حقيقيا في
power
حياة
to make a
الملايين.
tangible difference in the lives of millions. Thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Omar for his briefing. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of the United United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. Let me thank DSRSG Koury, Ambassador Kazuyuki, and Mr. Omar for their briefings this morning. I also welcome the participation of the Permanent Representative of Libya at our meeting. Colleagues, the briefers have given us a stark assessment of the fragile stalemate in Libya. The current situation is unsustainable, with some Libyan actors pursuing their own interests, benefiting only a handful of Libya's elites. The Libyan people deserve political stability in a unified country with peace, security, and prosperity. I would like to make 3 points today. First, we welcome the successful first phase of municipal elections in Libya, marking the first time Libyans have gone to the polls in over a decade. We must build on this success. We call on Libyan authorities to provide the necessary resources and leadership for the second phase. Second, we welcome the plan DSRSG Koury has outlined today for a new, inclusive, Libyan-led effort to lead the country towards elections and a sustainable, secure, prosperous future. The UN plan provides a framework, but the solutions can only come from Libyans themselves. We encourage Libya's leaders to engage with the UN process in good faith and with the spirit of compromise for the benefit of all Libyans. We stress our continued support to UNSMIL and DSRSG Koury in the implementation of her plan to achieve a long-term political solution and to enable elections. Third, we welcome the panel of experts' recent report and recommendations. We share their concerns around the continued ineffectiveness of the arms embargo, the increasing smuggling of diesel, and the violations and abuses of human rights. We look forward to working with Council members to renew the sanctions regime and panel of experts mandate next month. Finally, President Koury, in achieving this, I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for their statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Madam President, I have the privilege to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3+, namely Guyana, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, and my own country, Algeria. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Ms. Stephanie Koury, DSRSG and head of UNSMIL, for her insightful briefing and update on the situation in Libya. We wish to thank Ambassador Kazuyuki Yamazaki for his briefing on the work of the 1970 Sanctions Committee. We also welcome the presence of the Permanent Representative of Libya in today's meeting. Madam President, the A3+ welcomes the successful conduct of municipal elections in 58 municipalities across Libya, marking an important step towards strengthening local governance and promoting stability in the country. We commend the High National Election Commission for the successful management of this democratic process. We also recognize the critical role played by UNSMIL, Libyan authorities, civil societies, and all actors involved in ensuring the security of electoral operation across the country. Our group urges the relevant authorities to support the newly elected municipal leader as they work towards delivering services to the Libyan people. We welcome the announcement of the High National Election Commission regarding the start of the electoral process for a new list of 59 municipalities next January. This step is vital for strengthening democracy and empowering citizens to shape the future of Libya. Madam President, the A3 Plus welcomes and fully supports the appointment of the Board of Directors for the Central Bank of Libya. We see this development as a crucial step towards implementing the UNSC facilitated CBL agreement signed last September. This breakthrough is crucial for safeguarding CBL's independence, integrity, transparency, and accountability. And this development will enable the effective management of Libya's monetary policy, ultimately contributing to the country's economic stability and prosperity. Libya's leaders have demonstrated their commitment to the nation's interest by successfully holding local elections and appointing CBL boards of directors. To build on this momentum, we urge Libyan actors and institutions to refrain from actions that can undermine these positive steps, reverse unilateral measures that fuel tensions, and prioritize dialogue and cooperation without precondition and in a spirit of compromise. It is imperative to address the deepening institutional divisions and erosion of trust among Libyan actors, which could have severe consequences. The role of the United Nations remains crucial in facilitating a Libyan-led national dialogue among key stakeholders. This dialogue is a necessary starting point for resolving outstanding issues, conducting successful national elections, and unifying Libyan institutions. Reaching consensus on these critical issues is essential for the success of Libya's election, Libya's national election, a cornerstone of the country's progress. We strongly encourage further steps to cement a stable political landscape, including unifying state and institutions. With this in mind, our group, the A3+, reiterates the importance of unified focus on resolving outstanding issues related to the electoral framework, with a view to removing key obstacles on the path of national elections. In this regard, the A3+ welcomes UNSC proposal to revitalize Libya's political process, to foster trust among key stakeholders, and pave the way for national elections, while preserving stability on the ground. It is crucial that all parties involved in the Libyan crisis fully support and participate in UNSC mediation efforts in good faith and without preconditions. Inclusive participation is key to achieving a sustainable and peaceful settlement, ensuring that everyone, especially women and youth, has a meaningful and safe opportunity to contribute to the future of Libyans is essential. Their active involvement in the political process empowers these groups and fosters a more representative and just governance structure. As we approach to the end of the UNSC mandate next January, the A3 Plus expresses deep concern that there has been little progress in appointing a new SRSG. This appointment is crucial and urgent, as it can enable the automatic extension of the mandate of a further 9 months. We stress that continuity is vital to addressing the outstanding issues related to the electoral laws and strongly reiterate our call for the appointment of the SRSG and head of UNSC. Madam President, we take positive note of the meeting held in Tunis on the 5th and 6th December to discuss the draft law on reconciliation proposed by the Presidency Council. We look forward to the finalization to ensure a fair, transparent process that responds to the needs of the victims of gross human rights violation and promotes right-based reconciliation in Libya.